Hey friend, how's it going? So today we're going to go ahead and talk about 6 of my street photography shots. But before then, if I can get you to like, follow, and subscribe both here on YouTube as well as on Instagram, it helps me make more of these videos. And basically what I'm doing here is that I'm explaining my street photography so to give other street photographers ideas on what they should go out there and take, and also maybe give a little bit of inspiration to have them go out there and have you guys go out there and take as many street photography shots as you can, because whenever you take more street photography shots, you actually get better and better. It's like any other skill. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. So today we're going to go ahead and talk about 6 of my street photography shots. And for the first one, just to jump into it, it is going to be remembering 2020. So for remembering 2020, it is one of those regular shots where it's like a single subject. And the cool thing about New York City is that it has a whole bunch of different areas where it has like covered like type of walkways that look like they're always under construction, but that's just how they are. That's just how the street is. But basically I was trying to capture depth behind them. And whenever I saw this picture and I started editing it, the main reason why I wanted to upload it was because it reminded me of my first time going to New York City. So the first time that I ever went to New York City was during 2020. And when it was during the pandemic. So this kind of like reminded me of that. But also because I ended up going there, and being the pandemic, there was nobody on the streets and everybody was wearing a mask. So it was just so easy to walk around and explore New York City with nobody being on the streets. It was just amazing. So whenever we first got there, it was like a Thursday night, and we ended up walking over to Times Square, my brother and I, and we actually ended up seeing that there was nobody there, maybe like 15 people in Times Square, which is crazy for a Thursday night. Thursday night isn't, as packed as you would think, but it's still, especially now, it's still like completely packed on Thursdays every night, basically, because of tourism and everything. But basically what I wanted to capture here was, the mask and the subject walking by. And I just wanted to capture that depth shot. This is whenever I was thinking that most of my shots had to be of a single subject. This whenever I first started doing street photography. So that's why I ended up capturing it like this. But yeah, that's basically the shot right here. I just wanted to capture, that whole 2020 feel back in 2020. Okay, and the next one is called Separate Lives, Same Experience. So for Separate Lives, Same Experience, it is basically one of those. So I've taken multiple shots like these. Now, if you go through my Instagram, you'll see that I tend to like to take pictures of like a group of people just to see them all doing different things. Kind of like, whenever you looked at those books whenever you were a kid, it's like, where's Waldo, or where's, I can't remember what it is in Europe or anything, but over here in America, it's Where's Waldo. It's like you would see these and like try to find Waldo in the pictures and everything, but you would also see all these like different scenes all around, and you would like try to figure out, oh, well, this person's doing this person's doing that. And that's one of the trends that I started taking pictures of a lot, is like, especially in New York City, where there's like people on a corner or, trying to cross the street, and everybody is doing a separate thing. But what I was trying to get at with this photo was that, everybody has their separate lives, their individual lives and everything, but they have the same experience because they're experiencing it as a human being. So that is why everybody's looking through like the same experience, but yet everybody has like their own separate lives, their own separate goals. And it's just one of those things that always captures my eye, because everybody is so unique. And that's why I like taking photos like this, because it's just capturing kind of like a painting. It's not as impressive as a painting, and a painting is like really, really impressive, like especially whenever people just like bring that up out of their imagination. But for me, at least, it is just capturing the moment, stopping time, and knowing that these people in this exact moment might never see each other again, or even cross by each other after the fact. So it's like capturing time, which is, photography, and it is what it is. But that's basically what I was trying to capture with this photo. And that's that photo. For the next one, it is called Through a Screen. So for Through a Screen, it is in Chinatown, and I was walking. So one of the things, I've talked about this in other videos, but one of the things that I do is whenever I'm holding my camera, I actually hold it down here and I flip up the screen so that I'm able to like walk around and take pictures while I'm walking around. And I usually set up my shutter speed like 1/300, 1/250, just because it actually is able to capture, even if there's movement on the camera, it's able to capture everything really, really clear. So that's usually why I end up taking pictures like that. But for this one, it caught my attention because everybody in New York City, especially tourists, whenever they're going through Chinatown, they always have their phones out and they're taking pictures of this, of that, of this, of that. you know. And it's just like sometimes, especially in concerts and stuff like that, whenever people are taking out their phones and recording, they're more looking at everything through a phone instead of actually experiencing live. And that's one of the reasons. Just watching, I'm all over the place, but basically, whenever I do street photography, you do people watch. You people watch a lot. You try to see something interesting that people are doing that you want to capture and everything. So one thing that I've noticed over the years is that a lot of people just stick on their phones and they don't really experience life because they're just stuck on their phones. If it's either on the subway or, you know, just walking around, they're just looking down their phones. And especially for tourism and stuff like that, people will just walk around and like take pictures with their phones and everything, record a video, and that's it. They don't really get to experience it because they're just taking pictures, and they're gonna, you know, put these pictures on their phone, put these videos on their phone, but they're not really gonna go back and see them. Honestly, they're just gonna post them on social media, and then they'll completely forget about them and they'll never look at them again. Yet whenever you put your phone down and you actually experience life, it's much more different, especially whenever you are somewhere new like Chinatown or New York City that you've never been before. So this is a photo of me just basically trying to tell people to like not look through their phones so much and like put their phone down as much as possible, especially nowadays because we are so into technology, especially me. But I end up having to put my phone down for several hours a day just so that I'm not being overpowered by technology. So yeah, this is just a lesson. It's a lesson that I'm trying to portray through this image, which is, you know, watching the world through a screen. So yeah, that's this photo. On the next photo, it is called Stunning Culture. So this one is in Chinatown, but in Philadelphia. So there are these really, really cool arches that, well, this one specifically, I can't remember exactly what it's called. I'll go ahead and look this up and put it around here somewhere so you guys know what it is called. But it's just the amount of detail that this arch type of thing has. It's just amazing. Whenever I ended up taking this picture, so this arch, I think it's an arch, is in Chinatown, but whenever you take a picture of it from far away, the buildings are like too close to it, so it doesn't like isolate it. It doesn't look as good as it should, you know, whenever you are walking by or taking a picture from far away. So basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to isolate this as much as possible. And to isolate as much as possible, what I had to do was get really, really close to it and then like take a picture up, you know, basically almost taking a picture of the sun. But I ended up tilting the camera a little bit so it didn't capture the sun completely. But you do see a ray on the left hand side right there that it's capturing, you know, the ray of sunlight. But I just wanted to capture the arch as much as possible. So that's why I ended up taking a picture that was, you know, pointed up. And I did capture that building behind it, which I'm not a big fan of, but I'm also not a big fan of getting on Photoshop and making my photos look not as authentic as they are. So the not going for perfection feel of it is what helps it a lot, in my opinion. It's like, I don't like to get on Photoshop and erase things and stuff like that just to like make something look like crazy or whatnot, because that's not like, at least for me, it's more of, I was there, I took the picture, and this is how I ended up taking it when I was there. Why am I going to change something that's already standing next to it or in the photo whenever I ended up stopping time at that point? So for me, at least, it's like I stopped time, and this is how it looked when I stopped time. So this is what I'm going to leave it as when I end up editing it. I'm not going to erase all these like that building and everything, because that building was there when I stopped time. So like whenever people go back and go to that arch, they're like, oh, well, you know, this arch is here, but then there's this building behind it. So when you took this photo, why is that building not there? Did they just build it? Oh no, it was made in the 1930s. Then why is it not there? At least for me, it's like that, you know. That's how my mind works whenever I do street photography. But yeah, that's that shot. And the next shot is called a human leading line. So for human leading line, it is basically me trying to capture something different. So most of the time, whenever I go to these cities, I end up walking behind people. And sometimes when they're really slow, what I end up doing is that I end up framing a person that's on the other side, like either behind them if they're walking in front of me, away from me, or behind them if they're walking towards me. So I end up capturing that person in like frame, basically using their shoulders to frame that person that's on the other side. And I've done this multiple times in places that I've gone to every time that I go do street photography. And it's really easy whenever it's a person whenever the people are walking really, really slow, just because I'm able to frame it exactly how I want it. But for this one, I wanted it to make a human leading line. So basically what I did is I ended up lining it up to where it was, a person and then another person and another person at the very, very end right there, so that I'm able to basically lead the eyes all the way to the last person. But it isn't a direct leading line as far as, an actual line. It's more like you're jumping stones or people. You're jumping people until you get to that person at the very end. It's basically like a human leading line, basically what it is, what I ended up naming it. But yeah, that's basically what this shot is. And I end up doing a lot of creative stuff like this whenever I go out and do street photography, because I have a lot of games that I play whenever I'm doing street photography, just because it ends up helping me get ideas rolling. So whenever I do street photography, I end up taking thousands and thousands of photos, and even if it's something that you love, after a while it can get boring. So basically whenever you play a game, it helps you reignite those creative juices, and you're able to go out there and basically make a game of like, oh, I'm only going to take pictures of people that are standing up. I'm only going to take pictures of people that are holding their kid. I'm only going to take pictures of people that are in this exact monument, in this exact position. And it basically makes you go hunt out there and try to capture those photos. So that's basically why I end up doing stuff like this. And it helps me get my creativity up, so that whenever I go out there and I end up taking more photos, I can actually just find more creative ways to do it. But that's this shot. And then for the next shot, it is called Miles Walked, Shots Taken. So this is another thing that I end up doing. So whenever you go to these big cities, especially like Philadelphia right here, New York City, Chicago, Seattle, whenever you go to these cities, you will find that a lot of people are out there taking pictures, yes, with their phones, but there's also a lot of people taking pictures as a hobby with their cameras. It might not always be street photography. They might actually be taking pictures of very specific things like architecture and stuff like that. But they end up, I end up finding them really easily, because I'm the one holding a camera, and I'm always looking around and end up seeing people with a camera. And whenever I do, I end up taking those pictures, just because it basically shows me that, hey, I'm not alone. I'm not out here just taking pictures on my own. There's a whole bunch of people out here taking pictures, and they do it because they love it. And whenever I see a person taking pictures, especially street photography or anything like that, I end up taking a picture of them. So most of the time I try to capture them taking a picture of something else, but in this case I ended up capturing him just leaving with holding his camera on the side. I'm not exactly sure what camera that was. It might have been a Fujifilm, but either way, it's just that iconic type of street photographer out there, just walking miles and miles and miles, taking pictures and everything. It's really cool to me. It's dear to me because I know I do it all the time, and just to know that there's people out there that do it all the time as well, it's just really cool. And that's basically why I'm also talking about my shots, so that you guys can get a little bit of inspiration. And that's also why today, those are the 6 shots for today. And today, one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring up my friend's profile, which is this one right here. I'm not going to say the profile's name because I hate butchering names and everything, but here's the profile. But this is one of my friends that he lives in Poland, and I like to follow his photography because I end up seeing what he sees Poland as well as, a whole bunch of different places in Europe and stuff like that. But the cool thing and the unique thing that I've seen about his street photography is that he actually writes poems. At least I think they're poems. They might be something else specifically related to literature, but I see them as poems. So whenever he writes down these poems, he writes them down as him basically explaining the image. And it's basically what I'm doing right here, but he explains it in a very poetic way, which is something that's really, really cool, and I really, really like it. So I ended up, we've been, talking and everything, and I am going to go to Europe at some point in the near future, so I can go ahead and hang out with him, and, we can do street photography together or whatnot. We wanted to meet in London, but that didn't end up working out, but, there's years to hang out and everything. So, but one of the photos that he ended up taking was in Paris, and whenever I saw it, it really resonated with me because there's so much emotion, especially how he explains the image. It's this photo right here. So how he explains the image, and basically this woman looking at pastries and everything at a pastry shop, it resonated with me so well, especially the poem that he wrote. So I'm gonna go ahead and read that poem to you now, just so you guys get a feel of what I'm talking about. But let's go ahead and read that now. Okay, so this is the poem for this photo right here. The monochrome palette paints a tale steeped in the hushed whispers of time suspended, an intriguing cinematic frame extracted from a moving reel. The pastry shop, glowing with an inviting soft light, pierces through the quiet gloom, casting a homely beacon in the midnight ambience. Against the glass, warmed by the inviting heart of the shop, the silhouette of an old lady takes form, slowly illuminated, her face etched with the grand tapestry of life's intricate journey. She stands poised at the threshold of decision, drawn towards an array of baked goods, their allure underlined by the silence of the night. Every wrinkle on her face is a question, every crease a tale that winds down the dusty boulevards of yesteryears. Her gaze, a reservoir of wisdom and yearning, fixed on the tantalizing array of pastries. Is it just a quest for nourishment, or does every treat stir up a symphony of echoes from a lifetime of memories? With delicacy, will she pick tonight? Such questions linger, much like the sweet aroma of the pastries persisting, ever present. Like, it's really, really good. And a lot of his photos are like this. He ends up writing poems or, literature like this for every one of his photos, which is, I find pretty awesome. It's just, whenever I ended up seeing his profile for the first time, that's one of the things that drew me to it like so much, because I end up putting meaning to every single one of the photos that I upload, because I want there to be, even whenever I'm doing street photography, I ask myself, what am I trying to say with this photo? And this is basically what he is doing. It's like, in every single one of the posts that he puts up, he explains to you what he's trying to say with that photo, which is awesome. So he's got a whole bunch of really cool street photography shots. So I definitely recommend to go into his profile and checking out his work. It's really, really cool. And yeah, that's basically what I wanted to talk about today. He has some awesome work, and I hope to do some street photography with you here in the near future, probably early next year, hopefully. I'll do like a quick flight to London or something. He lives in Poland. Maybe that would be easier. I've never been to Warsaw, so we'll see. But yeah, those are the photos. Those are the 6 street photography shots for today, guys. And basically me talking about somebody else and their street photography. That photo just really resonates with me. But thanks for tuning in today, guys. And I'll go ahead and catch you guys next time.